It's just adorable. So anyways, right now we're getting Dana up and running, and we're live on YouTube. So Dana Banana, this mic is all yours.
Hey everybody, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hi guys, I know it's happy Friday, and I want to apologize in advance. It seems that at the exact moment that I signed on to Zoom was the exact moment that one of my neighbors decided to start mowing their lawn. So they're a little further off right now, but if you hear it, all I can say is I'm really sorry because there is not one room in this house I can go into to escape it. But hopefully it won't be too long. So, because nobody here has really large properties. Um, I wanted to start this with just a very simple prayer, and that is, Holy Spirit, speak through me. Use my mind, my voice, my presence. I place this hour in your hands. So this week, I'm seeing how much I still try to control. I would say that is one of the core themes for me this past week, with the other one being meaning. Um, but yeah, control, even how I appear spiritually. And I've been feeling this invitation to surrender even that control. I would love to sign on the hour before that I come on and listen to what you guys are talking about. And I've got this fear that I need to spend that hour preparing for this hour because the fear is I'm going to mess it up. So I guess you could say I've got all kinds of raw, vulnerable stuff coming to the surface, along with this seeming need to try to keep everything polished and organized and brilliant and helpful and what have you. And I'm sitting here right now understanding that I do not have any control over any of this. And I'm going to be completely transparent and tell you I've got 3 workbook pages up. I've got a page of notes that I had typed out, um, among other things, to try to prepare me for this hour. And really, what has dawned on me is that the only thing I think I need to do is just sit here and let whatever wants to come up come up, because that that is, I guess, me not controlling it. And I'm not even trying to control not controlling it. It's just sort of this position of being on the knees with the hands up, going, I truly don't know what anything is for, including this hour, including what I want to say. So I'm just gonna step back. So I guess some of the stuff that's been coming up for me, also, I've been feeling this incredibly deep and abstract fear. I'm feeling, I think, the same tension that a lot of other people are feeling out there, maybe everybody on the planet right now. Um, just this impending sense of doom. And I don't say that because I actually think that there is some form of doom happening, but I believe I do recognize that that is the ego's way of stirring up some stuff, because I don't think it's real happy with the work that I've been doing, and probably the work that a lot of people have been doing. It has come up in conversation that it seems that, I don't know, maybe people aren't tuning in to the spiritual type material that they used to. Um, and I'm going to say, no, I think people are tuning into it. Um, I think that the way that we're tuning into it is a little bit different. And I think it has taken a turn from mainstream, polished, proper spiritual talk to getting down and dirty with the work that nobody really wants to talk about. But if you look, you'll find that it's there. And I do believe, with everything that I've got at this point, that there are people in this world doing the work. A lot of them probably won't talk about it because the stuff that comes up is thick and dense and scary. And so the lawnmower is close. Can you guys still hear me okay, or is that distracting?
We do not hear the lawnmower at all.
Perfect. Then I will not bring it up again. Okay. Um, yeah. It's tough to actually do this kind of work. And once you start to do this kind of work, I think, at least for me, I find that there's not as much to talk about because the concepts no longer really have the meaning that they used to have. And then you get to where I'm getting to, where you realize that any meaning is meaningless. And so when any meaning is meaningless, especially when you see how addictive meaning is, right? I think that is maybe some of the temptation that gets talked about, this need to have meaning. Everything has to have a meaning. And then we judge the meaning that we've given it. That might be the start of the work. Maybe that's the start of some kind of an awakening process. Oh, I see that I've given all of this meaning and all of this judgment to everything I see. Oh, okay. Well, let me change it, right? So we look for things like positive thinking or affirmations or this and that to try to change the meaning. And this thought system that, might not be working in our best interest, but it's like you got to respect it. At least I do. Respect its strength, respect its power, not because it actually has power, but the mind that gave rise to it is powerful. That is the mind that God shared with us. We just decided to take it and use it for some other purpose. But that's how powerful it is. And that's why it feels so all-encompassing and brilliant and seemingly impossible to get out of. Or at least that is my experience. That feeling of it's all this one big cloud filled with meaning upon meaning and layers and layers and layers of meaning. How on earth can one find their way free of this? And of course, upon reflection, I ask that question, and the answer I really get is to just sit back and trust. And so that, I guess, would be another core theme for me this week is trust. And so my argument, and I use that word loosely, but it's the only word that comes up. The argument would be, trust in what? Holy Spirit, you're asking me to trust in something I don't know, and that's God. I don't know God. I apparently didn't really want to know God, and I sure don't know God now. How can I trust in something I just don't know? But at the same time, looking at everything around me and realizing I've placed all my trust in this, and this is not trustworthy. This is not going to tell me the truth. And so you just wind up in this limbo land of it's not this, it's that, but I don't know that. So what? Just what? And that is where I seem to live right now. And I'm just saying it because it's true, because this is what wants to come out. Um, and so I guess right now the theme for me is I will simply sit back and let him lead the way, even if I have absolutely no idea what that means or what that looks like. So that is definitely one of the themes that have been coming up, including a fear of speaking for this hour. What if I mess it up? What if my message isn't clear? What if I sound like a total moron? What if I am not helpful? What if they decide, you know what, we kind of wanted you to teach, but you kind of don't have what we thought it took when we first asked you to teach, so thank you, but no thank you. All of these different fears are coming up for me. and they feel terrible, but at the same time, I totally welcome them because I'm also in this state of allowing whatever deep, dark, wretched material wants to come up from underneath it all to just be here and be safe and talk to me. Um, I think the idea is integration, but I cannot try to perform an act of integration because it is not up to me, Dana, to do much of anything. So again, it's just sitting back, recognizing and allowing, and also seeing how difficult that is. Um, and just an example of the control I talked about before and the meaning. I went out this morning. I had to go to the cable store, the internet store, to go pick up a new modem because it's twice within the last month that lightning came around and damaged our internet equipment, which was why I had planned on attending last night's meeting, and I didn't have any internet, so I wasn't able to do it. So and this morning it was like, the thoughts had started up again. Oh, great. I get to go run another errand. I get to go run across town. I was just at this place yesterday, exchanged the wrong piece of equipment because I thought that we thought that was the problem, but no, it was this other problem. So now I got to run back. And right away, now there would have been a time I would have gotten completely caught up in that and that victim mode, that victim mentality, that life just likes to mess with me. That would have been alive and present, and I would have totally fed into it. And I can't seem to do that for very long, if at all, these days. So I guess that's something to be grateful for, but I do notice it come up. So I noticed it start to come up a bit this morning, and then right away I didn't try to bat it away or fight it. It was just sort of a gentler, no, you don't really believe this. And it was like, yeah, I don't. I know it's a story. There is something to be said about beginning to recognize that your stories are just stories and they don't have any meaning except all of the belief and reactionary responses that you give to them. And so even that was a miracle and a blessing, but there was still the errand itself. And so as I'm driving to the place and getting into the parking lot, I immediately noticed, oh, it's busy. There's already a line forming in front of the store. I mean, I got there right when it opened. How I was going to have to drive around and look for a different place to park, and how when I noticed a parking spot in the next aisle, when I went to turn into the next aisle, there was this truck that was just totally blocking the way. And a quick glance at the guy who was in the truck made me realize that this guy had absolutely no intention of moving anywhere. So that I was going to have to go somewhere else and find a different place to park, or I could roll the window down and tell him how he's blocking the way and can he let me in, and it really wouldn't matter whether or not it was confrontational or friendly, that the whole thing made me feel afraid anyway, and that it really just wasn't the avenue I even wanted to take. But also being aware of this judgment of being passive and just kind of letting him be where he was going to be so that I can go find a different place to park. So I went ahead, I found the different place to park, and of course, uttered to myself that he was an asshole. But oh, and I never asked you, Lynn, I'm sorry, but I don't know what your take is on profanity, and I can totally refrain from using it, but sometimes it just really makes the point. I don't know how you feel about that. What is your stance on profanity?
I don't know if Lynn's there right
Okay,
this
yeah,
second. Oh, there she is.
I am here. I was just like, I'm laughing over here. I don't give a fuck what you say.
Oh, perfect. Oh, I love
Words
you.
have no meaning. I mean, seriously, we, you know, this is not a place of judgment of anything superficial like that. And I'm sure that was what Mickey was going to say too. But yeah,
Our
words have the meaning we give them. So, and you're over here cracking me up. I'm laughing at you know, well, maybe they won't like me and they won't want me to come back and they oh, what who the hell do we think you think we are?
And see, and I'll get into that too, how it's
Okay,
really all just a projection of my own stuff, about how I'm not capable of seeing anything. I'm only capable of seeing how I see. You can't see truth when all you see is your own stuff. It filters everything. But
exactly.
okay, yeah, thank you for that. If somebody were to tell me to shut the front door, I'm not going to take that as anything other than wonder why it was open in the first place. So,
Exactly.
but
Uh, I just don't understand it. We're trying to hide so much.
yeah.
Say what you mean to say. Don't hide your thoughts because of you have this is what you're talking about. We're talking about earlier too that we're so conditioned by the world to think that something should be a certain way
Yeah,
that you don't even see the reality of it. And the reality of it is words are uh, twice removed from
yeah,
the truth. So, it doesn't matter what you say, it's always going to be a lie. But the only thing that's really true is or I am the Holy Son of God, really. And that's even kind of a lie because it puts a separation there between me and God. But anyway, I've talked enough. I just want to let you know, feel free and absolutely do not, the people who have come here, I'm just going to share this really quickly. I hope you don't mind.
yep,
A lot of times people come here as teacher, okay? And they think they have to do something. They set up and have a little, they write stuff up, they make slides. I don't mind that. You can do that if you want. That's great. I love it. Zelma does that, and it's awesome. But thinking that you have to come up with something before you come here is really what Holy Spirit Jesus is telling us not to do. He
right.
says, do not plan. Just uh, go through with the plans that have been given to you. And so, when we're sitting around trying to figure out what am I going to say, we're really blocking the thing that's coming for us this instant. This instant is where that's coming for us, and you are filled with it and you exude it. So, don't worry about what you're going to say or what you're going to do. If you're gun hung up, play a song. Or say, does anybody else have something they'd like to share? Because somebody else will always have something to share, just like me right now. Anyway, turning the mic back to you, my friend.
All right, yeah, you said play a song. There was a song I knew years ago. It's called Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. That's what showed up in my head as far as play a song. I'm sorry, I'm just in rare form today. But no, I was talking about, thank you for that, by the way. That was very, very helpful. But no. I'm 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 driving and I'm getting to the new parking space and I'm thinking this guy, what an asshole, just sitting there, blah, 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 blah. And just the whole thing and how, okay, I judged him and blah, 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 blah. And it all just hit me. And it was like, I am trying to control this process. I'm trying to control how I see, how spiritual I am, how forgiving I am. I'm trying to control all of it because that's what I do. That's what I do. I judge and I control. And no matter how much I read in the course or how much I practice, it still comes down to meaning and control. And these are just some of the things, maybe the very things that are at the core of all of it, along with some other beliefs that have been coming up for me. Not new, but I kind of see all these beliefs sort of dancing around me at this point, like just up. They're all just up now. Um, and that was just this realization I had come to. And it's control. If you would have asked me years ago, do I think I'm a controlling person? I would have said, no, not at all. I don't have any interest in trying to tell anybody how to run their lives or what to do with their time or anything, just as long as they don't try to control me, right? I'll only be controlling if somebody is trying to control me. But I would have never seen myself, just the persona, because that's all I have ever known myself to be, as controlling. But now, as things start to unravel and come up, I see it as clear as day. This is all about control. I think this is what leads to the tension in the body. I think this is what leads to the stiffness and the pain. And when I say leads to, I actually don't really mean that. That's just a phrase. I think it's symbolized um, as these symptoms in the body. It is all about control. For me, there's a recognition of this deep, 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 terrifying fear of everything just erupting. And it's funny because we're seeing it now, right? We're seeing the earthquakes, we're seeing all of this volcanic activity, we're seeing eruptions and temperament and so on and so forth. And these are the very, very things that I have been deeply and desperately afraid of. I try to control people's responses. This is where this whole I need to be a problem solver, fix it person comes in. I wasn't sure what it was before, and even that had taken me a little while to finally see for what it was. But I think I do see it for what it is now. It's control, and it's this inner tug of war between, I guess you could say, the conscious, deliberate decision maker in me wanting to allow this to unfold, wanting the truth and really nothing but the truth, with this other part of me that is like, no, 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 no. You know, that just looks like devastation. That just looks like destruction. That just looks like the world coming to an end and everybody being destroyed. It's like that kind of fear is what is ping-ponging back and forth in my mind right now. And all symbols that show up that reflect that back to me are terrifying. And I can see this need to control even this awakening process so that I can try to minimize whatever fear comes up, along with this false sense, but very convincing sense of responsibility of it's up to me. It's up to me to allow these releases to come through. It's up to me to try to wake up. It's up to me to fix all of this because it's all my fault. Because that belief has come up too. You know, that core root, everything that is wrong with everything is all my fault. If you're in my awareness and something happens, it's all my fault, right? Like the whole thing is my fault. This devastating, devastating feeling of deep guilt, remorse, regret, shame, existential wrongness is what has been coming up for me. And there's nothing I can do with it except to just sit back and let it be there in all of its forms, and also recognize that there is still this very strong desire from within to control it and soothe it and maintain whatever form of homeostasis that I can. And even that is exhausting because I'm realizing the futility of it because I can't do any of it. It's not up for me to do. There's only one thing. There's only one thing ever for me to do about anything and everything, and that is to forgive it, let it go, and give it all over to this unknown presence that I would still place more trust in than anything here, other than the trust that I'll place in the symbols to simply be a mirror. That is as much trust as I think I'll put in anything here. And that allowing to let that be here as well. So this past week or so, or maybe not week, several weeks, I'm just feeling a lot of the fogginess um, inability to move, um, along with just seeing a lot of these core beliefs come to the surface and just expose themselves. With me, like I said earlier, sort of on my knees with the hands up at this point, just going, I don't know what any of this is. I don't know anything at all. I don't know anything at all. I don't know what any of this is for. I don't know what any of it means. Um, and I can see the desire to place meaning on it, ask meaning of it. And this whole thing exists because of a meaning that I took seriously, that we all took seriously from the very beginning, that actually had no meaning at all. So it's meaning. It's it's the meaningfulness of placing meanings on things that is so meaningful. And I know that that sounds weird, but that's how it appears to me. Meaningfulness and this control of it. This perhaps last ditch effort to try to control something that I cannot control because I don't know what's on the other side of it. But I guess in a way, kind of like that outside ring of fear that is talked about. Um, I feel like I'm hovering around that area, so to speak, and I'm being told they're just clouds. I think I heard on, it might have been when I was listening to one of Bruce Rawls' talks at one point. This maybe was a couple of years ago when he had said something to the effect of, what looks like concrete to us, the Holy Spirit can drop a feather through. It was something to that effect, and it stuck with me. And I'm reminding myself that even though it looks like concrete right now, in truth, it's a feather can be dropped through this. It's just my interpretation of it. And that it's not even up to me to try to reduce that fear. It's just up to me to let it be there and just let myself be guided, and that to trust that I don't know how to use time. I don't know the meaning or the purpose of time other than to just let things unfold, and that I have no say, no meaning, no understanding, no nothing. At the bottom of it, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing. There's nothing I can know. There's nothing I can understand. All I can do is trust, which is, again, it's a very difficult thing to do, but that thing that I'm being guided to, and that it involves absolutely no doing, no nothing. So that's where I am. That is where I am. I'm going to ask if I haven't even looked. Oh, 17 messages in the chat. Look at that. I didn't even notice. Okay. Robert, and giving all to all. Okay, that was actually in the last one. Open to spirit. This is you, Lynn. Open to spirit. Do not fear. Who are these people? Are they out there somewhere? I know that they're shadows. The shadows seem so real, but I am recognizing that they're shadows. Robert, yes, many of us share this sense at the moment we are doing the work quietly in prayer. And Robert, that is definitely one thing that I have noticed. This is, at least for me, maybe for a lot of other people, but there used to be a time when I had wanted to really kind of shout from the rooftops, all of these spiritual learnings that I had learned over time and so on and so forth. And now I'm kind of at this place where it's sort of a quiet retreat. I understand that this is, at least for me, it's very, very quiet work. Not the kind of thing that out in public or around most people that they even know you're doing, but you're doing it. You don't even have to talk about it. And that's the place I think I'm at. Um, and Lynn, LOL, who do we think we are? Robert, if the shoe fits, LOL. Karen, wait. Yeah, I think I missed one here. Um, okay. If the shoe fits, Robert rolling on the floor, laughing my ass off, accepting who we are now is the start of our healing. Yeah, absolutely. It's just this now moment and kind of letting ourselves be there. And as Karen just said, let all things be exactly as they are. Karen, do you have any idea how many times a day that exact phrase shows up for me? It has been, and the truly helpful prayer that I saw that you posted below. Yeah, those have kind of been sort of my lifelines. Um, I am learning the Holy Spirit reinterprets our typos. Yeah, right? Right? Karen, where is Rafi and his Sedona method? You know what, Karen? I have been practicing the Sedona method. I practice the Sedona method every single day. It has been so incredibly helpful. It is such a beautiful, organized way of just allowing all of these things to be exactly as they are. And yeah, so I've definitely been combining that, recognizing the code. You know, did I go to Catholic grade school? No, actually. Um, and then Oh, and then Robert asking, who are you asking about the school? And Robert, you just asked what the Sedona method is. I learned about the Sedona method. Mickey had first mentioned it to me, and then I heard Raffi talking about it. Actually, he was talking about something else, and I asked him if what he was talking about it was a releasing of a physical symptom that he had been experiencing. I asked him if that was what true forgiveness was, and he said, just the looking and waiting and judging not. And he's like, well, no, he was practicing what's called the Sedona method, and it's a release technique. It's an allowing and a release technique, and it was brought to. It was first introduced by somebody named Lester Levinson, and I haven't really listened to too much of his talks, but he had been he was sick. He was very sick. I think he was given just a few months to live, perhaps, something to that effect. I'm giving a very, very kind of a gray explanation of it. But somehow he came across this method and I think went on to live like another 40 years. But it was this allowing and releasing method of just allowing all of the stuff that was basically making him sick. It was all in his mind. They were all his thoughts and beliefs and interactions with those beliefs that were the things that he realized, I guess, had made him sick. He recognized and developed this technique, brought it to the mainstream. It's helped, I don't know how many people, but a lot of them. And now somebody named Dwayne Hoskin teaches it among other people. And it's just this method of, it consists of, I don't know, maybe like 4 steps. And the first step is, can I just let this, whatever this may be, this anger, this traffic stop, this argument, this whatever it is, this fear of humiliation, this exhaustion, this body pain, whatever it is, can I let this be here? Um, would I be willing to let it go? Right. And then when? Um, I've also heard, I tend to expand upon it. So can I let this thing be here? Yes. Usually for me it's a yes, because I'm at that place of willingness for most things. And then I kind of expand on it further, so it's like, not only can I let this thing be here, but can I welcome whatever internal reactions, whatever judgments, whatever fears, whatever resistance. So if I were to ask the question, can I let this be here? And the answer might be no, then it's like, well, can I welcome that too? Can I welcome the no? Can I welcome the I don't wanna? So, and then after you go through this, where it's like you're just welcoming this shitstorm, or whatever it is, whatever shitstorm seems to be appearing. When you get this in front of you, you've let it up, you're welcoming it, which is a form of integration. That's when you start gently asking, okay, well, am I willing to let it go? Am I willing? And sometimes for me, the can I let it go is a very, very tough thing for me to do because there's that belief back there that, well, I'll let it go, but it's just going to come back again. So I'm really not letting it go. And what that does is it just shows me that there's doubt there. So I'll let that be there too. I'll rephrase the question, am I willing to release what I've made of this? Right? So in a way that sort of gives permission. Hey, I get that you're probably going to come back again, but I am actively and 100% willing to let go of my interpretation, my judgments, my definitions, my everything that I've made of this. That I can always give a firm and believable yes, I'm willing to let this go. Okay, well, if so, when? And, now. So that is the Sedona method. I've probably elaborated on it a bit. And like I said, I've kind of added a little bit more to it to sort of tailor me specifically. I've even sort of included and you can be safe here when I'm letting the triggers or the shitstorm come up. It's like you're safe here. I'm willing to let you say whatever it is that you want to say and show me whatever it is that you want to show me in whatever way you want to show it to me. You are safe. And like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was a week ago, that I had realized at one point, I didn't look for this, it just showed up, that in my telling my triggers that they are safe is somehow reaffirming to me that I am safe. Because if they're the things that I'm trying to push away out of fear and I'm telling them that they're safe, then basically what I'm doing is I'm just letting all of me be as it is. So, but it's a practice that happens over and over and over and over. And this is what I spend the day doing. And anybody who would ever be around me would have no idea that this is what's actually going on. Yes, Lynn, it's a forgiveness process. And Robert, I see that you had asked, how does it align with the course? Yeah, it's basically it is. It's a form of forgive us. It's a form of forgiveness. Yeah. Yeah. But it's a form of forgiveness that it's sometimes the simplicity of looking and waiting and judging not seems perfect. And it's not because there's anything missing in that, but because the ego thought system is so complicated and just so layered that letting go sometimes requires a more, at least for me, almost a more elaborate process because it's like there are ways that we can look and wait and judge not, but it's still being clamped onto back there somewhere, right? So in that, it's sometimes just looking and waiting and judging not for me seems to require a few more steps, but even those are just stepping stones. I use them for what it's worth and just allow them to be helpful for now. So, and Mickey had said, I love adding the you are safe to the release technique. Yeah, yeah, that kind of added itself. I didn't intend to add that, but the I am not safe belief has come up quite a bit. So that was something that I realized kind of needed to be added in there, just for its helpfulness. So I want to basically ask, does anybody have any comments or have any thoughts about anything that I have said? And it's okay if you don't, because okay, Karen.
First of all, I just want to thank you for your bravery and your honesty, and welcome to the world of illusions, because every single one of us experience the same exact thing you are sharing. So it is so helpful that you shared it, because we are not alone. The ego will always doubt, always. And it wants to prepare, and it wants to, make everything perfect and cross every T and dot every I. And the Holy Spirit's just looking at it like, are you serious? You know, I mean, he sees beyond all of that. And so your sharing just really helped me tremendously because I find myself doing the same thing at times, you know, and it's something that is, I think for me, I asked you about Catholic school because I went to Catholic school for 7 years until I got kicked out in seventh grade because I just couldn't deal with the bullshit. And the nuns were very brutal and mean, and it wasn't my idea of what God was. So, but there was a lot of guilt that they instilled in us, you know. So I had a lot of guilt growing up, and it's a lot of undoing all that and recognizing everything you said. I mean, I don't even need to repeat it, was just so perfect, and you're doing everything. I mean, I think you're doing everything perfectly. I mean, you can't really get any more perfect than what you're doing because you're looking at it, you're welcoming it, you're not judging yourself. I mean, your process is absolutely superb. So I just want to thank you for sharing, and it's been very helpful to me. That's all.
Thank you, Karen. I was happy when I saw you raise your hand because just from listening to you, when I've been present, when you've spoken, I've always enjoyed the stuff that you've had to say, and I'm really glad that this was helpful. And it was just, again, it was like another exercise for me, I guess, in just completely trusting, including all right, if there are weird, awkward silences, or if I feel embarrassed about that, it's all just up for forgiveness also. It's the same process with everything. It is such a simple and clean practice, but it's so easy for this complicated thought system to do just that, complicate the crap out of absolutely everything. And then Keith Kavanaugh would call it flypaper, and it's like it's just everything is just getting caught in the flypaper. And it really is just this one simple practice of allowing. And it was just every morning I get up at this point, and I sit for about 5 minutes at least, and I just invite the Holy Spirit into my mind, and I never know like what I'm gonna even do with that afterwards. It's really just the practice, and sometimes it's just an exercise in looking at the cloud of thoughts as being just a cloud of thoughts. In fact, most of the time that's what it is. And the other day, I was absolutely astounded by it. There was something in me that day that just saw it as probably more clearly than I have ever seen it. The mind is encapsulated or seemingly encapsulated in layers upon layers upon layers of clouds, and each cloud represents thoughts. And all of the thoughts are really just suggestions with meaning behind them. And we give the meaning to them because we are, just as I think it was Lynn that said before, we are programmed to do so. And this, I believe, is actually the code, right? This is what, the code gets into this, or at least that's my understanding of it. We're like encoded. The one mind is encoded with its programming about the overall environment and the general filter through which this world would be viewed, and that filter is a belief in sin, guilt, and fear. And then we all have our own personal codes, which would be our own personal life stories, our personal life circumstances. It's all code. It's just the macro and the micro doing the exact same things on seemingly separate scales, but it's all the same thing. And it's on that micro level that we all either participate in the furthering of the sleep or the awakening slash, which is really just a letting go. The awakening is really just a letting go and letting up. And but we're talking deeply, deeply, deeply embedded program. And it's really, really hard it's really hard to get out of that. In fact, we can't get out of that on our own. That's where a lot of the spiritual concepts start coming in, and on top of it, that need to have meaning. Um, I had mentioned a few weeks ago, somebody had asked, or have I awakened? And I'm like, well, no, I have not awakened. I'm definitely not going to claim that I have awakened, but that back in early 2012, I felt that I had been called to start to awaken, and it was through circumstances. I really wasn't even sure what that was to begin with. It's only upon reflection that I could say that I think it was a call to awaken. And even that, took on a very spiritualized ego turn at the time. Although, as it turns out, some of it really was authentic. But what I hadn't mentioned was about 4 years or so before that, I think was when another call had sort of come in, and it showed up as the start looking into the world's corruption, the world's like real corruption, not the stuff you really hear about on the news, but the news behind the news, right? Like the man behind the curtain kind of thing. And I was okay at looking at all of that, but with looking at this material and starting to learn about how deep the corruption and this and that goes into, and by the way, I'm like never going to get into that stuff. It's not important to me anymore. And I think it really adds a lot of credibility to the whole there's a them out there that's responsible for it. Like, like we didn't instruct the ego to put those them out there to play their parts, which at this point I do see it as that. But the part that I could not deal with and hence willfully went back to sleep with was this realization that if all of everything that I was hearing was true, then that meant nothing meant anything. That meant nothing had meaning. And I could not deal with the idea of waking up in the morning and having no purpose and no meaning. It was like, what's the point of getting out of bed? That was the thing that made me not want to hear about it anymore and kind of go back to sleep for about another 4 years until it was like, no, now you're going to pay attention. So it's that addiction to meaning, and it is everything. It is everything. And even when you kind of shake your head and you look around and you're like, this is just a giant cloud filled with all of these meanings, and there's nothing I can do with them. None of them mean anything. Even then, it's like, now what? I'm in the now what stage, right? I'm in the now what stage. There's nothing to do. There's literally nothing to do except to just keep looking. And whatever time I've got in between whatever hours I seem to be awake, just kind of do that and then go through motions and do things that appear to need to be done, but none of them have any meaning, right? So that's kind of where I am. Let me see. Let me see. I give it Lynn Johnson. I give everything the meaning I see. Yes, lesson 1 and 2, the whole course. Yep, those 2 lessons healed 2 heart attacks instantly. Really? Wow. Okay, yeah. Well, when I first read lesson 1, nothing I see means anything, um, I was like elated. I was like, finally, something's kind of talking my language. I had heard about the course back in like 1994, but I didn't pick it up until like October 2022. So and when I first read that lesson, I was like, wow, that is amazing. I give everything I see all the meaning it has for me. Yes, those 2 lessons have been coming up for me constantly, right? Those are the right-minded thoughts of the course, those easy to remember. None of this actually means anything. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. My thoughts are images I have made. All of this stuff. But it still gets to a point you can remind yourself and remind yourself and remind yourself. And that's really what this whole course is, by the way, at least from the way and I know you guys already know this, but it's really just repetition. The whole thing is saying the same thing over and over and over again in seemingly different ways because that's how complicated the ego thought system is. It means, oh yes, well in this situation it'll apply to it, and in that situation it'll apply to it, but it's all saying the same thing about the same thing, and none of it means anything, right? So that's what it is. But in all of this is just the feelings of terror, that the feelings of fear, this feeling of if I don't somehow hold on to the reins, then I'm going to be swept up in a tornado. And so will everything and everybody that I love. And we're going to be thrown out and left to die, here, let the bodies hit the floor, left to die on the ground somewhere. And that's what it looks like to me. And that it would be all my fault. So these are some of these deep rooted fears, I guess, that are coming up. And at this point, when they show up in specific forms, I recognize the specific form doesn't really mean much of anything. It's just a symbol of this guilt. And also, interestingly enough, something else that I've noticed is I've noticed the need to point the finger, the need to blame, right? That need to be convinced that I'm a victim, unfairly treated. So I've been able to see that in all of its beauty as well, and it's kind of funny how loud it is, but just looking at it and recognizing it for what it is has also been extremely helpful. I think that this time of seeming turbulence and upheavals, I think is just this. I said it a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a week ago. I think the Great Awakening is being met with the great resistance that is going to be equal to its strength. I don't remember what scientist had said it, something about equal and opposite reaction. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Well, and I got the chills when I said that. I believe that not only has human willingness to awaken intensified, increased. I think for the people who are practicing it, it's the most important. In fact, it's the only important thing. It's the only purpose there is to anything. Like nothing means anything other than this practice in its purity because it's everything. And I think the sincerity and the devotion and the willingness to practice, it's either maybe it hasn't reached that hundredth monkey effect yet, but if it hasn't, it's close. And I think that all of this tension and upheaval and these eruptive things, I think, would be the resistance also gearing up because the awakening is so heightened now that the resistance is going to match it. And it's really just, I think, that call to sit back and trust because there's just nothing else to do because there is no meaning to anything else. So this is where I have been. This is where I spend my days these days. Yes, Karen.
Yeah, the other thing that came to my mind as you were speaking about the form is that, these differences in form do not mean anything. And I think that's very helpful to remember because this is where the comparison comes in. So when I start comparing myself to, well, this teacher's better or this teacher knows more, and maybe that's why think I need to prepare because I don't know enough, or I need to know more, or on and on the ego goes because it's comparing. And so the one of the main purposes of that nothing means anything in the course, I think, is recognizing that the differences, as Ken Wapnick would say, the differences don't make a difference. And that's where we put the meaning. We put the meaning on the comparisons. That I'm speaking for myself. I mean, I put the meaning on the comparisons when they don't mean anything. They don't mean
Mhm.
anything. So I think that's for me has been a really helpful thing to recognize. It's just we're all the same in content and the form means nothing. So it's the recognizing and remembering, like today's lesson, I am not a body, I am free. Thank God. Thank God I am not this body. But yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. And you and I could probably have a whole conversation on what you said about comparing and stuff. And and again, it's all that meaning and which teacher has this knowledge and which teacher has that knowledge. And at this point, I'm actually just kind of sitting back and it's like, even the ones I don't necessarily agree with, they have something wonderful to teach me, even if it's not necessarily obvious right away. They all have something to teach me, even if I'm judging, right? And as far as the comparison goes, I mean, I recognized a while back that it's like, no matter end what side I seem to end up on, there's no peace in that, right? So if I'm going to compare myself to somebody else, well, if I'm not as good as them, then I feel bad. And and if the judgment is I'm better than them, I've realized there's actually no peace in that whatsoever. I've realized that I don't experience any real joy or happiness in any way if I somehow wind up with the impression that I'm better at something. There's kind of that sick satisfaction that has nothing whatsoever to do with peace. And so there's, yeah, it's such an easy thing to do. And it's something I had spent so much time in my life doing. And it's not helpful. I mean, it's helpful. It was helpful, I guess, to do it and hence to see it and then recognize its meaninglessness and its not helpfulness. But yeah, definitely an easy thing to do. So, um, I see that it looks like we're about at the top of the next hour. So, is there anything that anybody wants to say before I guess we close out? Yes, Mickey. Mickey.
Hi, honey. Yeah, I
Hi.
just wanted to say thank you so much and that you're doing a great job. And don't worry. Don't worry about what
Be
you're going to
happy.
say or what you're going to do. You know, when you first started talking about that, I thought, especially about uh, when I did yesterday's talk, I had many, many, many notes and uh, places in the course that I wanted to talk about. And I, I wound up checking off about two or three things, because spirit comes in. If it makes you feel better to prepare and take notes and have sections, great. There's nothing wrong with that as long as we let spirit come in and say, no, you're going to talk about this now, or this person's going to say something and it's going to spark off this whole other conversation or this whole other topic in your head. We just have to be open to what spirit says, even if we do prepare. So
Yeah.
thanks, and you're doing great.
Thanks, Mickey. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. And just to let you know real quick, when I had mentioned, how nervous and stuff I was about getting on here and talking and this and that, it actually had nothing to do with you. And that just goes to with any of you. And it just goes to show how it's not the thing itself, it's my interpretation of a thing, right? Because I've never experienced anyone in this group as being anything other than kind and open and loving and genuine and accepting. And so it definitely wasn't a reflection on anybody here, but very much a reflection of what's in my own mind. And it's just coming up for forgiveness, as it all is. So, thank you guys, and I just really appreciate you.
There we go. Thank you so much, Dana. I'm so grateful to have you here and truly, truly, truly have enjoyed your sharing. So let me get back to the meeting, and I'm going to stop the share, and I'm going to